y'all. I just finished my therapy appointment, my first therapy appointment ever, and I'm still kind of processing it in terms of just what that did for me. Like, it really unblocked this sense of like resentment I feel like I still was carrying, because every time I wanted to like downward spiral and like kind of talk about the people in my past, the way that she redirected my thinking process into like the good stuff that is happening in my life, I was like, yeah, like it just made me realize that what you actually pay attention to is what you will see. Like what you focus on is what you will see. And that's just the whole thing about your subconscious in general. And I just feel like I'm just going through the motions of that, because like even yesterday I replied back to someone who randomly messaged me on Twitter saying please shut the fuck up, and I took a screenshot of it, or I replied to it on my TikTok, took a screenshot of it, posted on my Twitter too, or Instagram too, and I was like just talking back. And then I realized like I've been doing that less and less, because when I first started being more what's it called, active on social media, I would respond to all types of comments, so good ones, bad ones, but the bad ones I would add more fire to it. Like I would add my attitude, I would add my perspective. And then throughout my homeless journey, because I did it in the beginning of it too, near the end of it I was like, you know what, why am I putting so much attention to people who are literally just negative? Like, you know, and it was just because I was so used to it growing up. Like I was so used to people always having a negative side to things, and I just wanted to like have them see the other side. But now I'm just like, you know what, people will come to it on their own. But anyway, it's just really nice. And then everything that she redirected me to, like the positive things that are happening in my life, I'm like, I am literally just wanting to focus on that right now. Like I need to only focus on the positive things in my life to add more to it, because like if I'm gonna focus on the negatives, I am partly inviting it, but also like that's all I'm letting myself experience, and that's sad, you know? Like I want to experience the good things and see the good things, so I might as well like really feel that. And so now I'm having a much different light about like how I'm viewing everything, because yeah, anyways, let's get to, I felt like keeping the hoodie on and having like my blankets be shown, just kind of keeping it a comfy vibe with the lo-fi, to also ease what I was just processing, but also to talk about the lessons of detachment that I've learned in terms of detaching from people, places, and things that don't serve me anymore, and how it's elevated me to like become who I am closer and closer, and like to show you it's okay to live without these things, that you don't truly need them to continue on in your life. The first biggest detachment lesson I learned was definitely just moving out of my province. um you know, the time I made that decision, I got a lot of comments from my past friends being like, oh, I can't believe you're moving, like I can never imagine myself doing that, like you're doing something so big. And you know, at the time when I was hearing it, to me I was like, it's not that big of a deal. And I realized I was already in the process of detaching from that place, because you know, I grew up in Calgary, I was born there, and you know, up until I was 19, I actually never wanted to leave Calgary. I wanted to live, I wanted to buy a house there, and my old view was that I was gonna settle down there, have like a nice home, family, all those things, work my 9 to 5 whatever, and go traveling every year. That was my vision. But then I was like, this, something about this province is not serving me. And it is the whole fact that like I really think of Calgary as a 9 to 5 city, and I don't think creatives fit in there. And at the time I didn't know I was a creative. At the time I didn't know I wanted to invest in something that wasn't a 9 to 5. Like when I moved out of the province, I was still on Indeed looking for like jobs that I had background in veterinary office for, or like other office jobs or whatever, but I ended up serving anyways. But anyways, that lesson of detachment from the place served me so nicely, because the last week that I was there, I was in full like indecision mode. Like I was like, is this a good move? I don't even know if this is good for me. Like this is my comfort zone, this is what I know. But I never ever regretted it. No matter what I went through in this new province, I never regretted leaving. I never even wanted to come back. And because to me, everything, well, it's not just to me, but everything has energy. And the place where you're hurt is not the place where you can grow. And I truly thought Calgary in general was a place of hurt for me. That could be different for everyone experiencing living in their hometown, but for me personally, because I grew up there, I lived my life there, everything was so familiar, I just felt stuck there. Because to me, living there, every experience I had there and everything I went through contained a bit of sadness in it, contained a bit of negativity in it, whether that was like me not wanting to do what I was doing, me not wanting to be with the people I was with doing, or me not feeling like myself doing the things I was doing. Like Calgary just felt so out of place for me. Like I just didn't feel comfy there no matter what I was doing. And when I left, the feeling of relief I had was insane. I just felt already so comfy in that new province. Like I moved to Ontario. I lived in Hamilton for the first 3 years of moving, and it was it was a really good lesson in detachment from the place, because I that was the first time I got to see myself and trust myself out of an environment I just knew nothing of. Like, sure, there was parts of Hamilton that still felt like, it's a city. It's a city. If you're going to a city, like you're still gonna find a city vibe in it, and that was me. So it wasn't too foreign when it came to that. And even like the areas I lived were scary to me, like because I've always lived around the ghetto and just like scary environments. Like the stuff like that's not scary to me. Homelessness is not scary to me. People who are on drugs and like that, still not scary to me unless they approach me, Like I'm literally like, people are doing their own thing until they're in my space. And I found that people came into my space more when I lived in Calgary. But anyways, next lesson in detachment was my family, for sure. After my grandpa's death, realizing how attached I was to him, what he provided, what he could do, his like what his role was in like the family, like I was so attached to that. And I can definitely say the same of my family in general. And then after he passed, like what went with him was my ideologies of what my family was, like how we were, how we operated together, and how we truly didn't even have a connection. And it just, like, the paradigms that my family made me feel, I wanted to detach from, where I felt like I was the only one who could do the hard stuff, like whether that was dealing with my emotions, dealing with my situation on my own, and just like figuring out stuff. Like, because my family came with such like a heavy lack mindset, it just felt like we just couldn't do anything on our own. Like literally, each of us feel like that. And so to break out of them and then finding my way on my own was really nice. But then the detachment from my family started becoming more and more after realizing like they don't know me. So for me, when I started seeing it from that perspective, I was like, okay, it should be easy then. If they don't know me, then what am I to them? You know? So what is there to be containing a relationship for if they don't know me? If they don't even try to get to know me, you know? So I detached from my family and had a lot of lessons in that. I talk about that a lot. But if you have any questions when it comes to detaching from family, like please leave any questions. I'm happy to answer them. I'm talking about them very like thorough and like maybe detached now because I've just already talked about this so much and just I'm over it kind of thing. The next thing I started detaching from was friends. And I think this lesson felt a little bit more tough than family in a way, because my family always gave me that core belief of how I viewed myself, sure, because of like childhood. But my friends are what I decide to spend my time around since I was like 14. Like I prioritized my friends more than my family in terms of like quality time and spending time, because my family didn't want to get to know me. I'd rather spend time with people who felt like they were trying to get to know me, right? But after all the lessons I've had with countless friendships that I thought were close friendships or just friends I thought I'd have for a long time, like after coming into my own, being an entrepreneur, taking an unconventional path, I lost almost everyone I knew. And in it, I gained myself. And I just, when I think of it like that, I feel no loss, nothing. And it's sad because you just really think you can go far with people and just like grow together, but you know, everyone has their own life paths. But I'm just like, man, out of everyone I actually knew, not one stuck by my side throughout this whole thing. And that's okay, because like I said, it made me really find my worth in a very much different way. And of course, it came with heartbreaks. Honestly, I feel like every relationship I lost, every friendship I lost, gave me a different sense of heartbreak. And now I feel like I've experienced all different types of heartbreak, that I can move forward easier. And it just kept getting easier. Like the more I kept losing these friends, I was like, man, there's connections I had for years that I lost instantly. There's connections that I felt so strongly within a couple months I could lose easily. Like there's nothing that can actually attach me to a person anymore that makes me want to have another heartbreak. Like now I've come to this point where I'm like, okay, you're in my life for a certain reason, you're in my life for a certain season, like it's just gonna be that way. And I've come to acceptance of that. And it's not that I've closed my heart anymore to the connections who might be serving for me, but now I'm using my discernment. Now I know who I want to fully pour into, because I know whoever I pour into now will be someone who equally wants to pour into me. Like I will not allow that. I will not allow any less. And that's something like the detachment of losing like the family aspect and losing the friends aspect gain a sense of boundaries within me that I've never had my whole life, and now I live by it. And I much prefer a lonelier road with boundaries than to have people constantly disregard them, disrespect them. Like I feel like I just my therapist told me, she's like, I feel like you've lived through many lifetimes. And I'm like, fucking same. Like how did you know hard to mention this with the current detachment lessons, but like with the ones moving away, that was a huge lesson in my stability, in my security. Because if you're moving away from your foundation, from your home, you're like sending yourself to somewhere new, like that rocks your foundation, that rocks how you view stability. And with all the lessons I've learned, I finally understand that no matter where I am, I'm stable, because I learned that when I was homeless. So if I felt stable when I was homeless, I feel like I can feel stable no matter where I am. And that is a lesson I am so proud to achieve, because it's peaceful like that. It's so peaceful because I trust myself in any environment I go into now. Like if I don't like it, I don't like it. If I like it, then I do. And if I feel safe in it, then I know. And it's so nice. It's so nice. And then with the detachment of losing like my friends and family, like I could feel a lack of connections, communication. I could close my heart and feel like, okay, I don't want to open up to anyone anymore. Like I've been hurt so many times, but here I am, still with an open heart, still wanting to experience other people, new people who live different lives than me. And if they still don't have like the same perspective, then I can walk away easily too. Like if I feel like I have a spark with someone, but they showed me something that's not in alignment to myself, I can easily walk away. And I love that for me, because I used to just stay, give people chances, see if I can change them, Like that's something I used to do. That is something I used to put so much time towards, was just like, no, I know I can, I know I can get you to see this other perspective. And sometimes like they had me fooled thinking like, yeah, I was getting it, but evidently like it just wasn't it for the both of us. Like I was trying too hard, and it's just not something that's in alignment for them. So we were both wasting each other's time. But anyways, that was a tangent. When I started detaching away from like systems, and this part was very interesting for me, because I didn't know I was doing it at the time, but now looking back, I'm like, no, that's definitely what it was. Like I detached from the 9 to 5 system, thinking that you had to work under someone else, make someone else's dream come true in the meantime in order to make yours come true. Trading time for money, always. Trading yourself, your body, your work ethic, your mind for someone else. And most of the time, it's not a mutual thing. Like, if you're paid minimum wage but being asked to do something that's not even in your job description, you're just, it's not, it's just very manipulative, very it's gross to be under a constant system like that. And I look at me sitting up because now I'm like so passionate about this. Like, it drove me crazy. And I've said this before, but it keeps replaying in my mind, like, about how I could be making someone else's dream come true. Like, if you're someone who doesn't know what direction it is yet, maybe having that route, going through different jobs to experience what it is that you like or don't like, that's okay. Because I've had like 10 plus jobs, all in different fields, and I evidently knew that I didn't want to work under anyone and I wanted to work for myself. And did I know what that looked like at the time? Hell no. um but I'm glad that, like, I still took that initiative to do that. And it wasn't even like the serving job that I worked in the summer, that, not this summer obviously, like last summer, but that job, like, it was that, and then quitting that job after feeling very unappreciated and very low valued there, and then going into another job and having it not work out right away because the manager is already talking smack about my work ethic when there was no one in the restaurant. Like, that stuff doesn't sit with me. And I'm like, you know what, no matter where I go, there's going to be someone talking ish. There's going to be someone higher up that wants to take advantage. There's going to be someone higher up that just has a power trip and just thinks they're above everyone. Like, if you are a good leader, you lead by example. Tell me how all the managers I've ever worked under, they just tell you what to do. They're not even there. I don't want to be led by anyone like that. That's power tripping to me. So I took that initiative, and I'm so grateful that I took a stance on that. No matter what that looked like for me at the beginning, no matter what that looks like for me right now, I'm still glad that I detached from a system like that. Because, oh, I would rather, and I would always choose the fact that people decided to talk so much smack about me during this time than to be, like, under someone else like that. Like, sure, I'm struggling right now. Sure, I'm like, I've gone through the motions and all that. But watch someone take that job away from you just because they can. You know? Like, I would rather be doing what I'm doing right now 100%. And still, I would literally do the same thing over if I could. Because, yeah. Anyways, I'm so glad I detached from the fucking, what's it called? Capitalist system. It goes along with, too, like, needing education or feeling like I have to have an education to survive in this world. You don't. You know how overplayed college is right now? You know how, like, at this point, to me, the education system, unless you're going for like the lawyer, the doctor, the thing, unless you're doing that, college is not even fucking worth it. It's not. It's just a social status. And that's the thing. There's so many people attached to the social status of a capitalistic system. Like, nobody actually fucking cares what you have. They care about what you have to offer on the inside. Because it's nice to have all these, like, things, these accolades, stuff you want to achieve, but if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, just to have something, just to prove to your environment and your surroundings that you have something, that's not for you. That's not it. When I graduated the veterinary office, I was like, it didn't even feel achieving for me. I was like, I graduated veterinary office. I feel like I could have, like, done a 6-month online course for this shit, but I did it over a span of 2 years. You know why I did that? For societal expectations, because within my friend group, I was trying to prove to them that I could finish college. I finished college. There was no, like, yay, you finished college. It was like, oh yeah, you finished college. It was another person who finished college. Like, you're another person doing this thing. And I literally got minimum wage after a college job. Like, how embarrassing. And that's literally the state of how it is for a lot of things right now. Entry level positions, but are requiring, like, an overload of stuff. Like, why are y'all buying into that stuff? Anyways, I'm going off a tangent. I'm going off. The detachment of banking systems, that part got me. That part got me heavy because my bank accounts closed while I was homeless, and I remember literally screaming, having a really bad fit in my car. I'm like, how the fuck am I supposed to operate now? Like, if you're gonna close my banking account, I don't fucking have anything. And then I still continue to thrive without a banking account, like for 2 months after that. And I am so grateful for that time, because leading up to when my bank account was getting closed, like I was getting like calls, I was getting this, I was getting threatened that like it's gonna close, they were coming for my thing. And something I learned throughout my whole like homeless journey is that like I genuinely don't give a fuck about a credit score. I generally like, why do we give a fuck about the credit score when like no matter what you're doing in this current state, especially if you're living in Canada, like it doesn't even matter. It doesn't, because you're gonna get bought out by someone who has more money than you anyways. It's all about the money game. Credit score makes no sense because it doesn't account for everything in between. It's literally just numbers, it's just systems, it's just statistics. It doesn't account for an actual experience that someone's living through. So why should I care? It's gonna be harder for you to get a house. It's gonna be harder for you to get... I don't fucking care. It's already hard to get a house. It's already hard to get a loan, because you know why? These things are to exploit you. They're meant to be hard for you to stay in that position. Like, as soon as I stopped caring about that stuff, I was like, man, I am much more relieved. Like, yes, I know I have debt. Yes, I know I'm gonna take care of it. Can I do anything about it right now? No, I can't shit money out. So what the fuck am I supposed to do? You know, like worry about my credit score? Why? You know? And like, oh, credit scores is just another systematic thing to keep you like low. Like, these systems are not meant for people who aren't privileged, you know? And the majority are literally in this position. So who the fuck is all the systems for? Like, these systems are so outdated. They just don't work. So stop trying to implement the same shit we're trying to do 50 years ago for everything. Grow with the times. Banking systems, working systems, education systems. Change fucking everything. It's time. Oh my god. Okay, I feel like I just really need to say this stuff because it just keeps coming back up. Back to the banking systems, like now I just feel like it's just there to watch you. Like, Canada and the US are literally run on debt. So like all of us are just contributing to what the country is doing. We're literally led by example to what we're doing. The system is so bad that all of us are just operating on debt, you know? So I don't know, just to be able to thrive. And I wasn't like flying high buying all these things thriving in that sense, but I was able to like feed myself, I was able to stay warm, all that without having a bank. And like it obviously came with its own struggles because of how like indebted it is in the system to be able to do anything, because like my OnlyFans was linked to it and I couldn't link my OnlyFans to anything else. So I was just making a lot of things work, and it was still manageable. And I was just like, we don't need the fucking banking system, and the banking system knows we don't need the banking system. Do you see how everything is going digital? They're gonna literally take away cash and be like, see, because they can easily take away cash. If they can change something like that, how easy is it to think you can change your way about how you view money or like anything else in general, you know? Anyways, don't let the people in power just easily fool. Detachment, my last recent detachment, because I'm not gonna say last because I know it's just gonna be a continuous things where I'm gonna feel, you know, anyway, was my car. Because I was thinking, I was like, man, because when I was homeless I was like, if I lost this car, I'm fucked. It has everything in here. It gives me like the sense of freedom, or just a sense of security. It just gave me so much that I was like, man, if I lose this car, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I am so grateful that I had that car during the homeless journey, and that I never ever got a message about like what I owed on it, or like people coming after me, like the bailiffs and stuff. Like, I never got anything like that. So I was truly thankful. But it was until like I was fully settled here that I got a message from the bailiff in email being like, yeah, we're coming to collect your car. Your car is already part of collections. And I was like, I got no notice of that. And now I got the final notice that it's about to get taken away. And the first day was so rough because I was just like, fuck. it's because I remember seeing a thing where if you don't feel freedom but you have a car, you have to reanalyze that because your car is freedom. You're literally allowed to go wherever you want, whenever you want, if you have a car, you know? So when I started changing that perspective, I was like, yeah, you know what? Odette gives me so much freedom. Like, I literally can do whatever I want whenever I want with her by my side. So when I got that message, I was like, fuck, a sense of my freedom is going to be taken away. But with all the lessons I've learned, I wasn't like, oh, I don't have any more freedom. It was more like, I don't know how I'm going to have freedom now. Um, but I was so attached because, you know, through the homeless journey and just this car in general, because it's the first car I got on my own. Because the first car I ever got, my uncle gave to me because it was like a really old car, and then the second car I got my grandpa bought for me. So this third car was one I got for myself, and although it was financed, it was a whole lesson I got to learn for myself when it comes to my car, because honestly, I wasn't prepared to finance it. The only reason why I jumped into stuff like that so easily was because I felt like I just couldn't operate without it. Because I've driven since I was 17, and if I'm moving to a new province, like I want a car right away, or else I won't manage in my head. But I'm like, it got me through all the things that I felt like I couldn't go through at the time. But now that where I like how I am right now, I'm just like, I am okay without a car. Like, I Uber a lot. I do. I go to places less right now, but also because it's winter. I'm not inclined to learn public transit because I just don't want to. But yeah, like, I'm glad that that gave a. I was upset about it for like a week after, after the car left. I was like, I'm learning detachment in another way again, and all these things. I was like, oh, it held so many memories. She was my ride or die, literally, for the 3 years I was in Hamilton. Like, the only thing that was consistent in my whole life, like, with all, like, she was the one who brought me to all the places I had to move to. Like, she was number one. And then she's gone. So I was like, oh, it wasn't just a car to me. It just felt like my best friend, too, at the time. But now I'm just like, if anything leaves my life at this point, I know it's just meant to. Anything that comes into my life, it's meant to. And I'm not attached to anything. I feel like everything just has a reason and a season. And now it's just beautiful over here. What I feel like I might be detaching from is just any more old paradigms I had that could be blocking any future me. And I feel like that might be it. But through having a therapist, I feel like that's gonna help with that. It already unblocked something within me just talking to her for 5 minutes in the first session. So I'm like, man, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where this is gonna lead for me mentally and spiritually. I feel like now that I'm really sensing where I am, who I am, what I want, who I want in my life, like, where I'm just so certain and just very aware of my experience. That's the thing. When you're attached to like people, places, and things, you are losing yourself as an experience because you're relying on something else to cater to add to your experience or just cater to your experience in general. But you're literally living this life for yourself. So when you become detached to things, like when things happen to you, you don't hold on to anything bad. You learn from things easier. You just move on and move through life very calmly, very peacefully, because you're in a state of acceptance, just complete acceptance. Like, if something bad happened to you, you're allowed to feel it for sure. Like, I'm like, when things happen to me, I could get mad with it for sure, and then I walk it off, and then I'm like, all right. And then I don't even remember what I was mad about because I'm not attached to what made me mad. I realized what triggered it, felt it, released it, and then carried on with my day. And that is something I'm so fucking excited about and so proud of, because I came from a place where I was so attached to everything, like attached to how people felt about me, that it would like impact how I operated. I felt so attached to the things that I had, where I was like, I can't live without it if I don't have it, you know? And I've gone without everything that I felt like I'd be attached to, and I'm living just freaking fine. It doesn't, and it's so much easier for me to say now, but like it comes through experience. Like the more you learn to detach, and you start off small. You start off small. You start by literally donating your clothes, donating things around your house. Always think that the things that you're letting go of is inviting room for new things. That's something that I always think of in my head. Like when I let go of my car, I was like, you know what? I've been manifesting a new car. I couldn't get a new car if I'm holding on to this car, and this car that has debt on it. Like, you know, time to release it. And then another example, like with clothes, because your clothes carry your energy. So when you release it and then get new clothes, even when you get new clothes from the thrift store, it's a new experience to you. It might be old in a sense that has been worn before, but it's still something new to you. And now that I have this kind of mentality, I'm just like, it helps me keep my heart open. It helps me invite more positive things, because I feel like every time I let go of something, I just know it's just not part of my, it's not serving me anymore in terms of it's not making me happy. It's not adding to my experience, where it's not teaching me something, where like if you were holding on to something that you had in the corner of your room for like 5+ years, you don't need it. You don't need it. Therefore, you should not be attached to it, you know? You want to have things in your life that are bringing you to where you want to go, that elevate you. So you want to surround yourself by, like, that's why, oh my gosh, getting into that tangent, but that's why your room is like how you think outwardly. It's like, because you have your inner world, but where your room is, it's constant space. So what you surround yourself with, that's why people who have vision boards will only see that, will have that vision. You know, people who only see mess around their room, they're gonna feel like their mind's always a mess. I don't know why I felt like they need to say that. When you're at a place of detachment, just naturally, you will know that nothing is like, not, no one's actually trying to personally attack you unless they actually are maliciously intending to hurt you. But if you're just going through the world and seeing how, like, if someone's having a bad day and they're trying to project that onto you, you already know it has nothing to do with you. Like I used to go from like taking everything personal, where someone was having a bad day, I would feel it for them. I'd be like, fuck, they're having a bad day, why do they take it out on me? Or I'd be like, bitch, like I would get like angry back. But now I'm just like, no, they have a bad day. I have bad days. They shouldn't have treated me like that, but I'm gonna let it slide, because you know, it's not about me. It's not about me. And if they're, and you know, you'll have some people who are having a bad day and then trying to hurt you, but if you realize that hurt people are just trying to hurt others, then you just see it as like, okay, he's just trying to hurt me because he's just hurting so much on the inside, but he's refusing to accept that he's hurting. So now he just wants to hurt other people because it's a satisfaction where now you can relate to me, you know? You're hurt because I hurt you, now we can relate, you know? But now I don't give people that satisfaction. You're just like, you're doing all these things, but I'm okay where I am, and I'm in the space where I'm at for a reason. So I'm choosing not to let that enter my mind. I'm not choosing to let that enter my energy. I'm just like, all right, includes my video about detachment. I'm sure I didn't forget anything, but if I did, I might leave it in the comments, or it'll be gone with the wind. Either way, if you have any questions, please leave them down here below. If you watched this far, I really, really appreciate your time and for listening to me and listening to my story. If you did watch it, please leave like any type of spiritual type of emojis. I would really appreciate that, honestly. And yeah, I wonder what next week I will feel compelled to talk about. It's really nice, honest, if I'm being honest, I do not plan my videos. They actually, the idea comes to me kind of a couple days before I even make a video, and then, but I like to post every Thursday. There's something about Thursdays where I'm just like, that Jupiter energy, I want it. So I post on Thursdays. But yeah, I, like, for this video, I felt so compelled to talk about it like last Saturday. So I'm excited to see what I bring up next. And if you have any topics that you do want me to go over in terms of spiritual stuff, if I haven't mentioned it before, or anything else, like, feel free, just talk about it. Talk about it. Leave it in the comments. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.